Most states have House Higher Education, Senate Higher Education committees. Talk to these folks. Get in front of them. Have a work session. We had David, Rich, Eric Frank from Flat World Knowledge, and Connie Broughton, who's my assistant director and runs Washington Online. Had them all virtually. Illuminate, I think we used, and the legislators were there asking questions. And I think we had a, 2.5 hour time slot or something. It was a very effective presentation. And this actually led to, when everybody else was taking budget cuts in the state of Washington, our system took about 14%. The universities took roughly a 30% budget cut. The only new money that came out of the legislature this year, this last session, was an additional $2.2 million for expanding e-learning in the CTC system and open courseware. And it was moves like this that made the efficient use of state tax dollars. David used his great line of saying, what was it, why buy something once when you can get two for twice the price? And the legislators all chuckled, but they got that, right? They understood that when you're buying paper textbooks, you're spending multiples when you only really need to spend one if there's a digital open copy. And they're all about saving students money. They're all about access. They're all about, they understand that. They know what the numbers are. So getting partners in this conversation, if you use this framework, doesn't seem to be much of a challenge, at least in Washington so far. Other big opportunities, student advocacy. We're blessed to have what we call a Student Voice Academy. These are the leaders of our student communities at the different colleges who come together, and they come to the state board where I work, and they form their own legislative platform every year. And this year, #1, and last year, #1, was cutting textbook costs. And so they're talking about this as well. Also, a lot of opportunity around partnering with foundations. I actually don't know if we got this grant. I just emailed my boss, and she hasn't emailed back yet, but we're trying to work with the Gates Foundation, and I think we'll be successful, but we're still waiting for final approval. And the legislature and the state board and the colleges, we're going to redesign our 80 highest enrolled courses in the community and technical colleges in Washington, which constitutes an entire AA degree plus the rest of our core curriculum. And the 80 courses that we're redesigning is about the same 80 courses that most community and technical colleges teach and a lot of universities use as lower level courses. And so lots of outcomes from this. We're going to, Gates is really interested in increasing the number of sections for these gatekeeper courses so people can continue and accomplish their educational goals in a timely manner. Gates is very concerned about improving completion rates. Outcomes is what they're looking at. So we'll be studying these courses. We pick courses that have lower than average completion rates. All of the courses, when they're redesigned, will be digital. Not so much so that they can be taught online and in hybrid modes, although that's certainly a benefit to providing more sections of gatekeeper courses, and we'll do that, but really so that they can be remixed by faculty, made local, as we talked about this morning. And our colleges faculty can take the pieces that they want. So if we redesign English 101, I'd be thrilled if they grab the open textbook out of that, but don't take the rest of the course. That's still a big win, because what really matters is adoption in the classroom. Everything will have open CC licensing on it. We'll probably use attribution only, keep it very, very broad. We'll take all of those 80 courses, dump them in Rice's connections, and open them up to the world. So one of the big outcomes really is to develop this culture of sharing and receiving in our system to help launch that conversation in a meaningful and substantive way. We're just not quite there yet. When you run the numbers on these 80 courses, our students collectively in our system, which don't have a lot of money, our students don't have a lot of money. A lot of them could be classified as working poor in the state of Washington under the definitions we've got. They're spending about $42 million a year on textbooks, and that's a conservative number for the sections in these 80 courses.
So Kim, is that just public colleges? So private colleges aren't counted?
This is only 2-year community technical colleges.
So it doesn't capture 4-year?
No. No, so that number is...
It's a much bigger number.
It's a much bigger number, that's right. Other strategy, and this is my last slide I'm going to hop off, is to partner with consortia. I can't say enough great things about CCC OER. Not only are they really leading community and technical colleges in this conversation in a very thoughtful way, but they're extremely inclusive. They invite bookstore managers to the meetings and all the stakeholders who really care about this, but need to be part of the conversation. One of the biggest challenges is how do we know if it's at the right level? How do we know if these materials have been vetted? And they've got projects around their new Hewlett-funded open textbook project where they're doing a lot of that work. And it's just wonderful. The resources they produce, I can't recommend them highly enough. And I would say not limited to community technical colleges. If you're at a university, take a look at these resources as well. Don't try to do this on your own. There's a lot of help out there. I've got a blog that I post these ideas and others on. My slides are online. They're on the conference website, and my contact information is there. I'd be happy to take a few questions.
Your board, that you work for, is that a coordinating board or a governing board?
Both. All the powers that the State Board for Community Technical Colleges have is money and policy. So, but that said, the policy piece is in coordination with the presidents and the trustees of the colleges. But all of the funds from the legislature to the colleges flow through the State Board first. And our state, the board of the State Board, has the power to essentially skim money off the top 4 strategic initiatives. So around the technology plan, for example, our board sat down with the presidents a few years ago and said, we're going to hold back $1 million for implementing some of these projects. Presidents don't always like those conversations, but it's starting to pay dividends. And when we can show the presidents, look, yeah, we held back $1 million, and here was what your cut of that would have been, but here's what we're saving you by centralizing some of these resources and providing centralized professional development, they can see that in the end, it's a net win. So it's important to show those numbers when you do something like that. Yes?
If you receive the Gates Foundation grant, approximately how long do you think it'll take you to complete those 80 courses and put them in connections? It's
a great question. We're shooting at a 2-year project. We'll be working aggressively with Carnegie Mellon, with the Carnegie Mellon Open Learning Initiative, with Candace and her team. They're going to be coming in and helping us not only with front-end professional development, but with resources along the way. We'll be working with anybody who's willing to help, including the Monterey Institute, and several others have already said, hey, we're interested, and we have content that you can use that's already open as part of your redesign. So as we're working, the process that we're going to use is to put domain expert faculty teams around groups of courses. So in the 80 courses, it's actually 81 now, we've got 10 math courses. About half are calculus courses, about half are algebra and pre-algebra and intermediate algebra. So we'll probably have an algebra team, and maybe even break that up, and a calculus team. You might have 4 or 5 faculty on each one of those teams, a research librarian, an instructional designer, graphic artist, etc. And then we also have trained up over the last year several Quality Matters master reviewers from the Maryland system. We'll have Quality Matters instructional design experts on those teams. And so we're trying to bring resources to bear that will really produce high-end redesign courses and use the best practices that already exist out there. And I'm out of time, so if we've got time at the end, I'll take more questions.
So what you're seeing up here, while Barbara gets the mic on, is the Ning group that we've asked. We hope some of you will join it today so we can use it interactively in this event.
So hi, I'm Barbara Illowsky and Jacky Hood, and now Cable can breathe because he spoke faster than just about anybody I met, and I'll try to do the same, which is exactly the opposite of what I like to do in my classroom with all my English second language learners. But this is what you get right now, given that we have 20 minutes for our whole presentation. I also want to thank you for the great advertisement for CCC OER, and I think when this is posted, we'll be able to cut and paste that and have our outsider doing our advertisement. Thank you for that part. As Jacky said, for those of you who are on, we did pass around the Ning sign up. If you have a laptop with you, we're hoping that you'll sign up right now to be on the Ning group, because what we want to do is we want to make this a working session. We posted 6 myths that surround open ed resources. The first one, authors never receive monetary compensation for open textbooks, and then you can read the rest of them down here. What we're going to do is we're going to divide you right now into groups and put you to work and come up, and these are myths that we often hear, and in fact this morning's speaker spoke very eloquently about the fact that faculty say, why should I do this, what's in it for me? And then other people say, well, she's already done it, why should I add to it? Okay, I'll use her intellectual property, but why should I give mine? Because mine's really intellectual. So we want to know about all of these, and we want to come up with ways to dispel this. So what we're going to do is we're going to divide you into groups right now and hope that in each group there's somebody with a laptop who will post to this. If not, then we're going to have you do it on paper and pencil. We have 6 myths, and we have 20 minutes till 18 minutes till it ends. At 7 minutes of, we're going to start the report out, which means that we have 11 minutes to work. So here's what we'd like to do. Originally we thought we'd divide you up, but maybe we want people who are interested in. Myth number 1. Who would like to work on myth number 1? Authors never receive compensation. You're all going to get 1 myth, so you might as well volunteer for the one you want. Authors never receive monetary compensation.
Well, read them all.
Oh, you don't have the paper?
No.
Oh, John, where's John, who's passing out all our papers? Okay. Okay, authors never receive monetary compensation for open textbooks. Okay, so we have 1, 2, oh, Eric, good, thanks for volunteering to be in that group. 3, why don't you go to one corner of the room right now and start going on that one, and anybody who wants to join them. And Eric has a laptop, so he can be in charge of posting. You can just move over right now. Myth 2, all open textbooks are crowdsourced, i.e. created by anonymous amateurs. Okay, we're not going to have 400 people in myth 6. All right, campus bookstores suffer from the use of open textbooks. 1, 2, okay, how about if you can come right here and work, and you can be in charge of posting, Stephen, thanks. Myth 4, modifications to textbooks damage the author's credibility. All right, and you have a laptop, so why don't you come over here and work with them?
Stay here.
Oh,
Stay here.
5, open textbooks are low quality or out of date with expired copyrights. 6, publishing companies are the enemies of open textbooks.
I think we have to.
So I'm going to divide the rest of the people here. Okay, the rest of the people right here, you're going to work on myth 2. So we have 2 people with laptops. So the 2, Alan, you, and I can't read the name behind, you're going to be in charge of posting for myth 2, turn around the stores. Oh, you 2 were already working on 1. Okay, and you're working here with them, and you're up here. Okay, so campus bookstores, we will have this group, you're not working on 1 yet, right? Okay, you're over there. Okay, then you have to move.
Mike, which one were you doing?
I'm doing damaging authors' credibility.
Okay.
People who want to do damaging authors can come and join Mike.
Open textbooks, low quality, out of date. Do we have a group for that? Okay, so let's just raise our hands for just a minute. Raise your hand if you're the myth number 1. So we know who's doing myth 1.
People back
1. Your myth 1 is back there. If you want to do myth 1, hop over there. Myth 2, crowdsourced. Who's doing myth 2?
Sure.
Myth 2, right over there. Okay, you're doing myth 2, and you'll post to the Ning group. Here you are working though. Now you know what to expect.
I know where the
She'll talk to you. Myth 3, campus bookstores. Who's doing that one? Okay, myth 3 is right here. Myth 4, modifications, author's credibility. Where was that one? The author's credibility, I know there were volunteers. Right here? Okay, so why don't you scoot a little bit away from them then? You can, okay, somebody types fast then. Low quality, so we have that one. Perfect. Okay, everybody's working, so it doesn't matter on what. At 7. Oh, and the name. So go to what
right on the paper. I'm trying to log in there Quality control check. My father used to have my presentation. John Middleton, our other job in California.
All right,
I'm not sure we have a publisher's code.
They really want a lot of reassurance.
I don't think we have a publisher's code.
So you want me to test it? Okay, David.
Hi, Alan.
So here we are to figure out
Okay.
whether or not.
Campus bookstore is subject
Is there a publisher?
Number one.
There's a myth about publishers.
Come on in now.
Yeah.
I guess it's great as they begin as if we have
Well, yeah, I mean, so without,
bookstore representatives.
Okay, so while you're signing up for review, you start talking with information for Carlos to say. Welcome. You to work. Oh, you're so nice. Welcome, welcome. Okay.
our experience so far with John is to present a paper on the we say to the student, it's there for free. Copy.
What did he come up with?
Audio copy. Yeah, we offer a bunch of formats. So it is actually, so what we say is we have all the different formats that students can buy, and we also have studies. All those transactions, we pay the authors 100% royalties. And as a kind of permanent version of what last piece I was saying, fundamental economics, so which is back on the sale of a textbook. And most schools not using it rather than the first semester they are after that they're using those they're using where modified yeah, it's a little early to say definitively. Yeah, thanks to say what the end results. We show early data that the authors are making in a 2-year life of an edition in the same adoption, same classroom, are currently making like a tiny bit less. And each semester we've done testing over 3 semesters. We increased that. So I would argue by the end of this current semester, they're going to make the same. And I would argue in 2 years they're probably going to be making more. And that's in a 2-year period. To expand out the life of relationship. Our authors make significant work. Not exactly. Yeah. Right, that's right.
So it's not just the author. We could feel it's everything to go for a while.
The less likely they are to buy things. Right. Well, yeah, I would definitely argue that one thing, when there are samples, just the pricing format of the book itself is really dependent on the student's each month, right? More than the quality of the how do I, what's the significance? If I'm okay reading an online textbook with a lot of units, that's great.
So just to let you know, we have 3 more minutes, so make sure somebody's typing in.
to be used to following you. If anybody can sample it, then they're buying it to help with your tax or you're going to buy
So in this you're allowed to. I can think about it.
So we've had I was asked a couple times that so far if you ever meet our managers of our and we had a conversation like this where one of the things we talked about was that the format of a textbook is maybe an old way of thinking about educational resources, instructional materials, and that when you've got digital format, you want it, and that's very flexible. And then we talked a little bit about some of the data that's come out of like textbooks and things like that, where students say, I don't always want to read it on a computer screen, sometimes I want printed version. So the collective conversation we had at this meeting was to ask the question, when there, even when the materials are open, and it's in either a textbook format or a course pack format or whatever you want to call it, and students still want to print it, where are they going to get that done? Well, you could have it done Hulu, you could do it Coop, you could go to a bunch of places, you could have Flat World, which are running drops to or what you don't give it bookstores could be involved in into print on demand service. And I've actually had conversations with Eric Frank and Flat World where Flat World say, look, we're open to have conversations like this with most of it was printed at our knowledge bookstore. Why is that beneficial? Well, it might be beneficial to students.
And I think those are the things that are much more valuable.
The thing we talked about with our managers was
like you said, by itself. So it's actually awesome.
one is their location.
They're going to be on there.
All right.
Professor speaking.
I hate to stop you. I know. And so here's the great thing. Whoever's typing, finish the typing really quickly. And what I want you to know is that this meet group isn't just for right now. All the rest of you can sign up, read it, and continue on, and continue posting to it if you want, and continue reading. And so I'm going to turn this over to Jacky, and she's going to read through a few of them, and we think we had one of them that was not, one myth that wasn't addressed, and so she's going to talk a little bit about that myth. And I'm so excited that you are all so involved in this, and hopefully you'll go back to your room or when you have your computer and say, you know what, I just remembered one more thing that I wanted to say, and you'll post it so that the person who's doing the postings right now isn't stuck with being the only one. All the rest of you can sign up and continue to follow, and then plus you're going to be getting in, you're able to get into all the CCC OER materials that we have, and from there, of course, you get to cable, you get to connections, you get to Flat World, you get to all these different groups. So, Ms. Jacky.
Okay, so myth one is authors never receive monetary compensation for open textbooks. Which group was doing that? Okay, I don't see your posting yet. If you want to just talk to the group.
It's probably shooting up there at this very moment, but our two quick takeaways are, yes, there are definitely models in which authors can write open textbooks and be compensated for them. There are models where the book is freely and openly available online, but you sell things that are of convenience and efficient for students around those, whether that's packaging and formats of the book like print, audio, whether that's study aids that help support learning from the book. The book is in essence the open book can become sort of a lost leader, and there are lots of opportunities to sell things around it, and authors can be paid royalties out of a pool of those funds. Another part of the discussion we had is whether that's even really the relevant question, or whether there's only a small handful of authors who make money from textbooks, even in the traditional space, and whether the more profound question is what are the collaborative authoring models that more people can participate in to create open textbooks that don't necessarily rely on large incentives to a small number of authors, and in essence create learning objects or mediated resources that people can put together in different ways. And so we didn't get too far into that, but those were the two questions. Yes, there are definitely ways, and but there are valuable other things to explore.
And I think one thing that, Eric, you're going to post that, right?
I think I did, but maybe
okay, you might have to hit return, and we'll be getting them up. And I think one thing to always keep in mind is we talk about faculty and how often are we publishing in journals where we're not getting any compensation and it takes so much work as it is, but we do that because we have to. And I also want to just add that I'm pretty sure that Eric would be willing to discuss off-site after this session if faculty do have textbooks and they're interested more in how the monetary compensation. He's got a lot of great ideas with Flat World.
And I just want to also mention, it takes more than an author to make a textbook. Illustrators, editors, on and on and on. It's a team. Okay, myth number 2 was all open textbooks are crowdsourced. Who's our group that was doing that? Anonymous amateurs. Can we hear from this group?
I'll do it.
Okay, you want to stand up? Oh, Mike,
I suppose. Well, we kind of took it as 2 parts. Is that one part is if the book is published and there's an attributed author and you can check out the bona fides of that person and see that they're affiliated with an institution or they're an expert in the area. That kind of takes some of the mystery out of where the book came from. And then we kind of thought it kind of blended into myth number 4. The latter part is if it's a work that's been modified, since it's open, people are allowed to do whatever they want to it, and people might think that somehow, that version of it is not as good as whatever was published by the actual expert in the area. So, and we were kind of getting around to discussing how that gets addressed before we ran out of time. So,
okay,
I'm not actually sure how that's addressed. But.
One of the challenges we know is we've been working a lot in math, and that's sort of, but as soon as we get into the humanities, there's a lot more about viewpoint. When somebody changes a textbook, did they change the viewpoint? Okay. Number 3 is campus bookstores. That's this group, big group.
Big group, lots of interest. Fortunately, we had representation of bookstores, publishers, users. Opening salvo, the world's changed for bookstores. They have to make a response appropriate to the new environment. The relationship among publishers, bookstores is changing as the used book market becomes more and more important. The publication cycle gets reduced. What does a bookstore do? What value add can they maintain on their campus? Point of presence, existing relationships, integration with administrative systems as this moves forward. Can they become the drop point for publishers in an open source, open content environment? Those were what we came up with in our
Great
abbreviated period
input,
of
and
time.
Cable's replies are up there now. We've zoomed it up a little bit, and by all means join the discussion. And we're actively working with bookstores.
Yeah, I want to add one thing as you're going to the next one, is that some bookstores now have gone into the rental program where they haven't before, and they've come up with different ways to modify. I know that on my own campus, the textbook that I'm the author of was the largest selling textbook in the campus bookstore, so it definitely was hurt. The campus bookstore was definitely hurt when my book became an OER. Now still, about half the students enrolled will buy the hard copy printed version, but it's less expensive than it was originally as a published book. So we've been working with the bookstores on a way to do rentals and way to see what else they can make up revenue with.
I also think the books is becoming a source of choice. Like we have to offer them choices, like the digital, the e-learning,
right.
The traditional, the rental, the use.
Yeah. Yeah, great.
Okay, let's go on to myth number 4, and we do have a loan posting here by, I think it's Lily.
Leela, yeah.
Leela, sorry.
I was Leela. Okay. I'm not going to read through every single thing, but basically, so ours was that the author's credibility is damaged when people change their books, and the basic consensus was the best response to this is it's the exact opposite of that. We're actually, as when you're part of an open community, you're actually held to a higher standard. It's not just your publishers that are commenting, it's everybody in the whole community has the right to say, hey, that's wrong, you need to fix this. And so maybe it may feel like a lot of work for the author to constantly engage, but this is also an opportunity for the author to continue to engage with the community and to increase their prestige. Another thing that I thought was really great that came out was that open textbooks, because they're open, they can be, you can say things like, this is used in 50 countries around the world, this has been translated into 20 different languages, and that's just another way to show the reach and the impact of your resources or of your book, and we think that actually lends a huge amount of prestige and value to the author's reputation, and that the changes actually can only increase your prestige. So.
Did
Oh,
we have, thank you very much, excellent. And I would love to have the comments on there. Anybody work specifically on low quality, out of date? I know these two groups really address that. The last one is the publishers are the enemies. We are reaching out to the publishers and they don't want to go the way of the newspapers. I don't know if Canada's lost any important newspapers, but we've lost some important ones. We lost the Ann Arbor, Michigan Daily News. We lost Rocky Mountain News. Yeah, we're losing a lot of newspapers in the United States, and I hope we haven't lost the Globe and Mail.
That's because those kids are always on
the
the
mop and
damn
pail's
pages.
still there. So let's. We're reaching out to the publishers, and they're waking up. They know they have to come up with affordable options. But the $300 textbook is something we should bury. So thank you for coming. I put my business cards out here. Cable has his out here. Maybe Barbara has some.
I do.
We really want to continue the conversation. We hope you enjoyed this interactive way, and we know you need to rush to your next session.
And I wanted to add one more thing, and that's that there is a panel discussion at 3:30 in 180. I'll be on the panel, and I can answer questions about textbooks. Arash is organizing it. There are several other people who are going to be on the panel. Murugan Tal, who's working with the CK12 program on Open Ed for the K-12 system. And also, we're around. And you can continue to post and email us because we'd love to hear more about it. So thank you so much for attending.